school since the age of 3. I think that would be one thing.
Dance training from the age of 3. Sound like a good idea, Jordan?
I think it's, yeah.
That's a skill which comes in useful, isn't it?
Yeah. At my school, personally, I go to a school in South London called Ernest Bevin, and I think it's great because I've been offered many opportunities. This is another one, just another one to add to a long list, and that's another thing. School is not just about the education as well. It does give you different opportunities. It allows you to socialise, it allows you to meet new people, it allows you to get out there and experience the world to an extent. You're not just there to be in a classroom. You do get to live.
I think in this country that most things get taken advantage of, because with Tom, he didn't want to go to uni and he thought there was too much pressure. But in this country, education is handed to you on a plate, and in other countries like Kenya or India, they still have to, it's not. And people over here, they just take advantage of it.
Take it for granted, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring in Susan. She's on the phone from Lusaka in Zambia. She's on the telephone. But tell me, Susan, do you think that in Zambia children are being overeducated?
I think, yes, certain people, certain children in certain sectors are being overeducated in Zambia. And also there are several factors that have led to this overeducation of people. It includes issues of unemployment. Certain people have failed to find any form of employment, and as such, that we've seen them going into university. They've gone to universities, gotten scholarships from the government, and when the government gives them scholarships, they go overseas or wherever they go to get trained in certain fields. We don't see those people coming back to make an input to the country. And if they decide to go further beyond, maybe say their masters, they want to go for a PhD or something like that, their postgraduate studies, they end up becoming overly theoretical.
Well, so Susan, let me just jump in if I could. I apologise if I'm a little rude there, but you're raising so many fascinating points. I'm sure the others want to come back to you, but you're not saying there's any issue with the quality of the education. You're saying the problem is if you spend all these years in the Zambian education system, you come out with a master's or a PhD or a degree, and there aren't any jobs for you because the government's educated you, but it hasn't created the jobs. Jahanara, would that be a concern of yours in India, that you'll come out of education and you'll have all these skills, but there'll be no job for you to use those skills?
Yes, I do agree. That's a major concern. Like you see in our country, we have a large proportion of the pilots which have no planes to fly. And what has to be done now, we just don't need to be educated. We need to be taught how to be entrepreneurs. Because somebody has to create the jobs. If everybody goes seeking for a job, then who will provide the job?
Well, you're talking about entrepreneurs. Right next to you on the screen is Tom, who is one. Tom, do you think that the governments are not paying enough attention to creating jobs and they're paying too much attention to education on its own?
I think, yeah, like was just said, entrepreneurs do create jobs. Some people are born with that attitude. I mean, it came naturally to me, and I never realised until I actually pulled myself away from the formal education system that it's the right route for me. And I think more should be done to nurture young entrepreneurs and young enterprise, and more done to actually identify it within schools and colleges and universities even. Like organisations such as Enterprise UK, we're celebrating Global Entrepreneurship Week next month. So hopefully these sorts of new organisations and new events will bring out and inspire young people to follow that path and follow their dreams.
We've heard from London on this, we've heard from Delhi. Let's go to Berlin. Zeki, tell us, when you finish university, are you worried you might not have a job to use all these skills you've learned?
Yeah, I'm worried not to have a job because I didn't learn any skills after university, because the branch might not be taking me, the employer, because I don't have skills that I can show them. I just have theory after university, and then they might not take me, so I have to be very good in the studies I did to get a job.
And Nathan and Anita, you're both from Brentside. I wonder, when you're sitting around having your packed lunch and you're talking about your exams that are coming up, do any of you ever say, well, what's the point of all this? We might not actually get a job at the end of all of this, or are you not worried about those kind of things?
Maybe because of our good exam results, that will look good for when we apply for university. And then from university, when we've got a degree and all of that, then that will look good on our applications for jobs and things like that.
Yeah, I agree with Anita.
I bet you don't spend that much time talking about jobs at lunch break. But let's bring in Krupa again. Have you got a question, Krupa, or some messages?
I've got both. We've got we've had this message from Jessica in New York City. She says, there are some professions that require you to be overeducated. If a doctor needs to cut me open, you better believe I'll be looking for doctors with an extensive education. And Guru Prasad posts, man learns till the last day of his life. Yes, if we're talking in terms of certificates, there is a limit. But education means knowledge, and for that there is no end. And here's a question for you guys. Mark in Berlin says, do you agree with compulsory schooling, and should all children have to go to school, whatever their parents think?
Well, that's an interesting idea. Jamu, let me ask you, do you think all Kenyan children should have to go to school until they're 16, even if their parents want them to stay at home?
Yes, I think education is really important. Even if we're saying that much theory work is not good for the children or the students, they have to get those facts in their heads. They have to learn properly. But if they feel that they have a talent, if they could have mentors to help them to nurture their own talents. Like, for example, myself, I've not been able to recognize my talent. And I wish that in my school, there could be diversity of things like woodwork or photography, things like that, that could help me to perhaps recognize my talent. So I think it's important for every student, every child to go to school and then to be able to choose the career they want.
Okay, so not only should they go to school, but they should also be able to shape their curriculum to suit their needs. But I just wonder, Nathan, if one of your mates at school came in and said, my parents have decided I've got to go home and help the family, should that be against the law? Should children be forced to come to school?
Well, I think children shouldn't be forced to come to school because with Jamil, I think she's right. But I wanted to ask Jamil a question because my mum, she encourages me to do well and what I enjoy. And Jamil said she wanted to be a doctor or a nurse. Just wanted to know what her parents thought or what their views are on it.
Well, my parents thought that I should have gone to the field of accounting or even clerical work because I'm good in mathematics. But I told them that I have to decide for my future. And since I lean more towards the science subject and I love what I do in school, so they agreed with me and they're not complaining. They're happy with it.
Anyone else want to come in on parental pressure? I'm sure some of them are watching, but don't worry about that. Anita? Jordan? Do you feel a pressure to do one thing or another?
No, not really. It's our lives. Our parents have lived theirs. So it's really up to us what we want to do.
What about you, Tom? Did you feel a pressure from your parents to go to university?
You know, I did, because they were both graduates. I was quite lucky in that sense that they were first-time graduates in their families. But there's that society, there's that pressure from society, their groups of friends and everything. Everyone had gone to university. And there was that kind of acceptance and that pressure, just a mild pressure to go on, that it was kind of expected of you. But they're really happy in what I'm doing now, because it's the right choice for me. And
Johanara, what about you?
I'm very, very, very fortunate to have parents like mine because I've been given the freedom to do whatever I want to do. But not everyone's as lucky as me. In India, there's this custom where if you're a male, you should become an engineer, and if you're a female, you should become a doctor or get married. And if you take up the arts, that is the humanities, history, political science, economics, you're considered kind of a dodo, even if you might be smart in reality.
And Zeki, what about in Germany? Is there a pressure for girls to do some subjects and boys to do others?
Actually, no. There's no pressure for girls or boys to do any jobs. They can actually do whatever they want, but there are like jobs which are more popular for boys and which are more popular for girls. But I personally think that if you're good in one thing, you can do and be whatever you want, because if you put the power in it, you will be able to do it.